Alright, we got a new dinosaur movie that isn't a part of the Jurassic franchise. Can't be worse than the last couple Jurassic World films, right? What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be looking at 65, which is a new movie starring Adam Driver. It is directed and written by the duo that wrote A Quiet Place, which is something that really excited me. Also, I just really like dinosaurs. It's exciting to see a movie coming out with dinosaurs that isn't a part of the Jurassic Park franchise because, let's face it, those movies have been going downhill for a long time. Also, much like A Quiet Place, this is a short movie. It's only about 95 minutes. I like that. I like that it's about a very small group of characters that have to essentially traverse across an inhabitable environment and sort of be quiet, and just a really contained, suspenseful thriller. That's what sort of drew me to this movie. Unfortunately, this was a big letdown. I guess I'm going to be revealing some mild plot spoilers here. I mean, this is all stuff that's gone over in the first 5 minutes of the movie, but if you want to know nothing, you might not want to stick around for this part. But essentially, this movie is about Adam Driver's character, who is not from Earth. He's actually from some other distant planet. He goes on a voyage to Earth, and it just happens to be 65 million years ago when there's dinosaurs present. And that's one thing that sort of bugged me right off the bat. Not only do they not really explore this world that Adam Driver's character is from, but there's also the fact that because he's from another world, he has no idea what dinosaurs are. So there isn't this moment of realization of what type of creatures he's encountering. So it just kind of lessens the impact of having dinosaurs being in the movie. It feels like they could have been replaced with any other kind of alien creature, and it would have very little effect on the film. Additionally, I have to say that the dinosaur designs themselves were actually a little disappointing to me. They just felt very archaic. It's like we've seen so many iterations of dinosaurs now that just big, brown, toothy lizards aren't very interesting anymore. I did like a couple sequences involving some raptors and smaller dinosaurs and even some giant bugs. All of that stuff was kind of enjoyable. But this movie, despite being only about 95 minutes, just drags so much at times. Adam Driver's character, Mills, he crash lands on Earth, and there's only one other survivor from his ship's crash, played by Ariana Greenblatt, I believe her name is, and she did fine for a child actor. Sometimes there's always the concern going into these movies that the child actor is going to be annoying or just not perform well. She did a fine job, but I have to say, I have no idea whose idea it was in the writing room to have these characters go through a language barrier where neither one can understand what the other is saying throughout most of the movie. And they could have played a lot more with that and sort of had them communicate through sign language, through gestures, and through drawings. And that just didn't happen much. It came to a certain point where somehow she just starts picking up cues from his dialogue and starts to understand some of the things that he's saying. It's just there's so much more they could have done with that element, especially because you have these two characters. They're the only characters in the film. And the best they could do is try to give them sort of a father-daughter type bond, especially given the only backstory that Driver's character has involves his daughter from his home planet. It never really went anywhere, and because the movie's so short, I think the big dinosaurs, like I don't even know if it's supposed to be a T-Rex because it looks nothing like a real-life T-Rex would. That thing doesn't show up until the final 25 minutes of the movie or so, and by then it's just what are you really going to do? And as expected, the climax of this movie is pretty dull. And again, that's not to say that I was expecting some big, epic, bombastic movie out of 65. I just expected a little bit better in the writing department, especially when you have the people that were responsible for A Quiet Place, which is one of my favorite movies of 2018. Here we just have a really bare-bones, down-to-the-point thriller, which could be good, but again, the characters are so dull, the world is so unexplored, and the dinosaurs are so generic. None of the action sequences really stood out to me. Additionally, there are all sorts of leaps in logic when it comes to the technology in this movie. They're very inconsistent when it comes to Adam Driver's ship and the escape pod that he's trying to get to. How exactly can their escape pod sufficiently keep them alive for long enough to be rescued? There's so many things that just don't make sense, and by the end of this movie, when it actually ends, I'm just like, well, I guess that was something. I don't know. For me, this movie needed to either have deeper characters and a deeper story, or have more characters and a bigger budget so they could go bigger with it and have people getting ripped in half by dinosaurs. Just go wild with it. As it stands, it just feels like a completely wasted potential. A premise that was really cool and did have some entertaining, mindless action sequences at points, but it was never enough to really make me think that was worth seeing. So ultimately, guys, I'm going to give 65 2 out of 5 stars. I don't recommend this movie. Do I think it's as bad as the last two Jurassic World films? That's probably up for debate. At least this one's only 90 minutes long, so again, if you don't like it, at least you haven't wasted 2.5 hours of your time. But again, this could have been so much more. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to drop down in the comments what you thought of the movie if you did see it, and what's your favorite dinosaur movie that isn't a part of the Jurassic Park franchise. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.